It was Halloween night, and I was furious. All my friends were out trick-or-treating, but my parents wouldn't let me go. Just a few days earlier, one of my classmates had gone missing, and they didn't want to take any chances. "It's for your own safety," they said. But to me, it felt like punishment. So I stayed in the living room with a blanket and a bowl of candy for the neighborhood kids. I put on a horror movie out of spite, and when it ended, I tried to sleep on the couch. But the silence in the house felt heavier than usual. That's when I heard it. A slow, steady creak. The sound was familiar, the old swing on our porch moving back and forth. I thought it was the wind, until I realized the air outside was completely still. I pulled the curtain back just an inch, and that's when I saw her. A woman, sitting on the swing, staring directly at the house. Her clothes were filthy, her hair tangled, and she wasn't moving at all. Not even to blink. She was just watching. Frozen with fear, I ran to my parents' room, stammering out what I had seen. My dad didn't believe me. He thought it was my imagination running wild from the movie. To prove it, he dragged me to the front door, even as I begged him not to open it. But he did. And then he froze. She wasn't on the swing anymore. She was standing just a few feet away from us, her eyes locked on ours. My dad slammed the door shut and yelled at my mom to call the police. 15 minutes later, the officers found her trying to break into a neighbor's house. They went through her bag, and that's when I saw it. My old stuffed animal, the one I had lost months earlier, torn at the ear. The boy from my class was never found, and that woman was never tied to anything. She was just sent to a psychiatric hospital. But I can't stop thinking, what if my parents hadn't been home that night? Was she waiting for me? Had she been watching me all along? At least, I survived to tell. When I was a kid, we used to visit my grandparents during special occasions. My aunt lived just 2 houses down from them, but right in between was her house. Nobody ever said her name. To us, she was simply the woman with the chains. She was tall, well over 6 feet, with a heavy frame. She always wore long dresses, work boots, and thick metal chains wrapped around her neck as if they were jewelry. She never smiled, rarely spoke, except when she screamed. Sometimes she came out to work in her backyard, and other times she did something even stranger. She washed the outside walls of her house, scrubbing them over and over like she was trying to erase something invisible. Whenever we walked by, the adults warned us, don't look at her, don't talk to her, don't stop near her house. But sometimes, we caught her staring from the darkness. On Halloween night, one of my cousins, always the brave one, dared us to ring her doorbell. I didn't want to, but I also didn't want to look like a coward. We were in a group, so I followed. Someone pressed the button. For a moment, we heard strange noises inside. Banging, dragging, like something heavy being moved. And then, the door opened. She stood there, her chains glinting under the porch light, staring at us with wild eyes. In her hand, she held something wrapped in a black cloth, gripping it tightly as if it were precious. None of us wanted to see what was inside. We ran away, screaming, while the adults later told us it was probably just a Halloween trick. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. Weeks later, something terrifying happened. My aunt was carrying groceries inside, with her little boy in her arms, when the woman crept up behind her. No one noticed until she tried to force something around my aunt's neck. My aunt screamed and fought desperately, pounding on her own door until my uncle rushed out and pulled her away. The woman didn't resist, didn't say a word. She just stared, silent, as the police arrived. But what they discovered afterward was worse than anything we imagined. Beneath her house, they found tunnels, narrow passageways she had been digging for years, stretching toward the homes of my grandparents, my aunt, and even other neighbors. The dirt she removed was hidden in the raised garden beds she always tended so carefully. and at the very end of those tunnels, there was a hidden room, strange markings, melted candles, and evidence that she wasn't working alone. Authorities never managed to get much out of her. She refused to explain anything, but investigators suspected she was part of a group, a cult of people who built underground tunnels for their rituals. The worst part? She wasn't the only one. Others could still be out there, digging, planning, and no one knows where the next tunnel will appear. To this day, her house remains abandoned, boarded up. But sometimes, when I pass by that street, I swear I can see the faint reflection of chains through the dusty windows. Maybe it's just my imagination, or maybe she was never really alone. So if you ever hear strange noises beneath your home, or notice fresh dirt where it doesn't belong, be careful with your neighbors, because I survived to tell. Halloween, 2010. While the neighborhood was filled with kids in costumes and houses glowing with jack-o'-lanterns, my wife and I were settling into our very first home. It felt like a dream, spacious, freshly painted, and with an attic we thought would only serve as storage. We believed we had found our forever place, but almost from the start, something felt wrong. At night, when the street went quiet and the Halloween fireworks faded, we'd hear faint footsteps above us, slow, deliberate. I told myself it was just the house settling, maybe squirrels, but then things began to move. A flashlight I swore I left in the garage would turn up in the bathroom. Food went missing. Clothes disappeared, always reappearing in places we never used. One night, as trick-or-treaters knocked at the door and the house fell silent, I turned off the kitchen faucet. That's when we both heard it. A dry cough, coming from upstairs, from the attic. My wife froze, pale. I tried to laugh it off, say it was the pipes, but inside I knew better. That night we barely slept, leaving the lights on, listening for any sound, any breath. Days later, it wasn't just noises. It was smells, sweat, spoiled food. It drifted down from the ceiling. And on Halloween night, while my wife was handing out candy at the door, I swear I saw a shadow move across the attic vent. That was it. We called the police. An officer searched the house, room by room, until only the attic was left. He climbed up with his flashlight, and when his head crossed the opening, he froze. Kneeling in the corner, staring straight at us, was a man in his 40s. His clothes were filthy, his hair matted, his eyes wide and unblinking. He had a sleeping bag, bottles of water, scraps of food, even a notebook filled with our schedules. When we left the house, when we returned, when we went to sleep, they arrested him without a fight. He never said a word. Later we learned he had broken in weeks earlier, while the house was still for sale. He'd been living above us the entire time. When we were at work, he came down to eat, shower, and wander. When we got home, he went back up and listened. My wife still hasn't recovered. Neither have I. We lock every door, check the attic constantly, and keep a bat by the bed, because you think your home is the safest place in the world, until you realize you weren't alone. And the part that still keeps me up at night? Before they took him away, the officer told me what else they found. Among his belongings was a cheap Halloween mask, a flashlight, and a note titled, "The Perfect Night to Come Down." The date written on it was Halloween. I can't stop asking myself, what would have happened if we hadn't called the police that night? I survived to tell.